Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. Good to be with you. This afternoon here in Brisbane, Australia, it is. I'm sorry, Linda. Linda sent me an email this morning. She's from Hobart, which is about, I think Hobart's about 3,000 kilometres south of where I am, but she is a fellow Aussie. But Linda is freezing currently where she is. Linda, it is a brisk 22 degrees, clear skies, like the perfect weather, perfect winter weather here in Brisbane, Australia. Let us know what the weather is like in your neck of the woods. Regardless, I hope you're safe, healthy, and doing well. And so many of you are watching this and you're still in your weekend. And so I hope you've had a great weekend. I can tell you, having gone, ahead of many of you, that Monday's been pretty good today. And so that's hopefully what you've got to look forward to also. What we've also got to look forward to is today we're going to do a Q&A where you ask your questions. For those of you in the live chat, throw your questions into the live chat, and the wonderful, very cold Linda will take your questions and she'll take note of them and we'll answer them as we get going. Next week, we're going to have another Q&A. We've had a run of Q&As, which has been great. I've enjoyed answering all of your questions. And then the week after that, we're going to have a special guest, and we'll talk more about that next week. A guest who, in fact, our next two international guests we've had on the show before. They're good friends of myself personally and of our channel. And so remember, the way to be notified about us going live, which we do every Monday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, because I am in Brisbane, Australia. The way to get notified is to subscribe to the channel and hit the white bell icon, and that way YouTube will always send you out a notification about 5 minutes before we go live, and that way you won't miss a show. You won't miss having the opportunity to ask your questions, nor will you miss the opportunity to listen to our amazing guests. And I do not say that lightly. The people who I very purposefully invite onto the show are some of the world's leaders in their fields. For example, a couple of weeks ago, we had Meredith Colby on. She's a leading expert into brain science and singing. We've had Jess Baldwin on. She's the most encouraging creative teacher. It was wonderful to have her on. We've had, look, if you've been watching the show for any length of time, you know just the caliber of people that grace us with their time, effort, and it's just wonderful. Before we get into the Q&A, which we'll do in a second, and I can see Alyssa is so good. Alyssa is one of my private students who I actually spent my first hour of teaching this morning with. Alyssa has thrown in a super chat there. That's actually how you get your questions answered first. We prioritize the super chats, and all of the super chat dollars go to the support of the channel, and they are gratefully received. So thank you, Alyssa, for putting your super chat in there. I am going to kick off with your question when we get to it in a moment. But before we do, I just want to remind you that the 7 Days to a Better Voice free program, it is scrolling across the bottom of your page in a moment. That's the voiceessentials.com.au, which incidentally, if you scan, if I can get over there, if you scan that QR code, some of you may have been wondering, what is that? That QR code will take you to voiceessentials.com.au. But as well as that, I have a brand new iteration of the 7 Days to a Better Voice free mini course, and it got released a couple of weeks, well, nearly 2 weeks ago, about 10 days ago. So many of you have already enrolled. If you haven't had a chance, and even if you've done it before, this is a completely new delivery of that program. It's got new videos. In fact, the previous one didn't have any exclusive teaching videos. This new version has exclusive teaching videos, which I want you to be able to use and participate in. And so it's, as I said, it's free. The course is worth $59.95 Australian dollars, $60, and I'm giving it out for absolutely free, no obligation. It's completely free. So if you are looking for a free Learn to Sing course that you can trust, because my stuff is evidence-based, it is research supported, I'd encourage you to dive into the 7 Days to a Better Voice, and you can do that at 7daystoabettervoice.com. Okay. Oh, I wanted to let you know, because I've had a couple of points made, and particularly I haven't seen Mackenzie in the chat yet. Oh, I just saw Singwise, Karen from Singwise. Hi, Karen. I haven't seen Mackenzie. Mackenzie's been asking about the song reviews, and asking whether we're going to do any live song reviews as a part of the show. Look, at the moment, I won't say we'll never do them again, but currently that's not kind of where I'm focused with the live show. I'm very much focused on our Q&As. I'm very much focused on our international guests. And so we may come back to doing the song reviews again, but at this point in time, not so much. Do you know, part of it is I don't like playing Russian roulette with YouTube's copyright algorithm, to be honest. That's a part of why I'm really just shelving it for the time, because for those of you who don't know, if you get a copyright strike, and you can only get 3 strikes and you're out, they literally kill the channel. And I understand that I don't have a problem with that, outside of the fact that it does make it a little bit more challenging for us to do things like the song reviews. And so if it's okay with you, we're just going to shelve that. For those of you who are watching and going, what is he talking about? About 2 or 3 years ago, I was inviting people onto the show to do essentially a live lesson. And I've seen Kathy Snyder is in our live chat. Kathy is one of our moderators over at in the Facebook Voice Essentials community, which I very much appreciate from Kathy, and a moderator here, incidentally. Watch out, everyone. We have 3 moderators in the chat today, so nothing is going to get missed. And I had Kathy come on the show. I think Linda has done a live song review here as a part of the channel. We only did a couple, in part because there wasn't a lot of take up of it. But anyway, I wanted to update you on that, and hopefully when Mackenzie, it is very unusual for Mackenzie to not be in the live chat, like even from before we start. So Mackenzie, I hope you're doing well, because we get to know each other here at Voice Essentials. This, Voice Essentials is more than just, information. It's more than just simply education. Voice Essentials is a community. I'll be honest and say, I did not set out for Voice Essentials to become a community, but here we are, and I am thrilled that that's where we've landed, and we do everything that we possibly can to really nurture that, in culture that experience for us all, and as a result, we've all gotten to know everyone, which is fantastic, and I'm seeing some new names in the live chat as we go, and looking forward to getting to know the new names. I think that's kind of all I wanted to say before we get into our Q&A. And if I remember correctly, I fixed the volume of this next bumper. I hope the fix has stuck. Now, hopefully that volume was a bit better. Last week I noticed that the volume would have blasted your heads off. And so I'm hoping that was much, Lynn saying, much softer, Dan. Thank you. Yes, apologies for the levels last week. So hopefully that's fixed that. Okay, let's get into our Q&A. And let me just fix this first. I want to just bring this down a little bit before we get to Alyssa's question, which is saying, Alyssa's asked, I got a VocalMist, hoping that it will help after open mouth sleeping, but the cleaning instructions are confusing. I'm afraid to use it. Would you share what you do for post-use cleaning? Alyssa, here's mine. For those of you who don't know, a VocalMist is a personal nebulizer, and it actually works on exactly the same technology as a vape. This is not a vape, okay? And in fact, I can see a little bit of condensation in mine. So what it does, I don't know if you can you see the steam coming out of that, right? Now, it's actually a nebulized saline. So this is a 0.9% saline solution, and all you do is you breathe on it. Now, systemic hydration of your vocal folds, that is by drinking water, is the most important part of your hydration. But it's really good to hydrate your vocal folds and get moisture over the surface of it. We used to do that. The old school way of doing that was to do that using an inhaler, but now, and that still has its place. In fact, I've got a new video that will come out in the new year. Did you know? Here's a little secret. I have videos already in the chamber within YouTube, ready to go right through till February next year. That's how far ahead I am, which is good. You know, you never know what's around the corner in life, so it's good to have that far ahead. So I think it's in March, April. My review video will go live regarding this guy, comparing it to a vapor inhaler, a personal vapor inhaler, which is more just steam. This nebulizes the saline solution, and which means it distributes and embeds within the vocal, the mucosa of the vocal tract and onto the vocal folds, and it's far more effective. I cannot tell you how much more effective it is. It's extraordinary. This, seriously, so good. These are so good. So this is called a VocalMist. That's exactly what, and that's actually the brand. If I show you up there, that's the brand of the one that you can get other brands, but this is the one I bought, and it's fabulous. Really, really good. To Alyssa's question, how do you clean it? Well, actually, after every day's use, and just so you know, the way you put these guys in, so that, can you see that there are four individuals? So there's 5 ml of saline solution in those, and you can buy that when you buy your version here. Now, what we do is when we clean it, at the end of every day, I just rinse it. So in fact, this bit actually comes off. Can you see? So that's essentially the battery that's driving the mechanism, and that bit's kind of the machinery that kind of creates the mist. And it's that bit, this bit here, that you clean. Now, all I do is every day I rinse it with water and let it dry overnight, so that all the parts are drying out. But then every week, so this I did this yesterday. You get some high quality vinegar, just from your grocery store, and 1 part vinegar to 1 part distilled water or demineralized water, so distilled water. So 1 part vinegar, 3 parts water solution, and then you literally turn it on and you keep it going for, actually it says to actually go right through the entire solution that you've put in there. And then again, you dry it out, let it dry overnight, and that's how I clean mine. Yeah, everyone, there's some expense to owning one of these. All up, including the carry case and some solution, saline solution, and the machine itself. I think it came in at around about 250 Australian, 300 Australian dollars ish. It's not cheap, but can I tell you, no regrets. I am so pleased, and I actually bought it because I was inquisitive to find out what all the fuss was about, because some colleagues I'd seen one colleague using it, and then another colleague. In fact, it was Marcy Rosenberg who came onto the show, and she was talking about personal nebulizers, and so I thought, I'm going to go and look into this a bit more. Went and got one. Wow. Like, I can not only hear the difference in the quality of my voice when I'm using it, I can feel the reduction in my load, my vocal load, because when the vocal folds are really well lubricated, then there's less friction, requiring the vocal folds to not work as hard when they're under load, and it's great. It's really good. So there you go, Alyssa. I hope that's a helpful answer. And if it isn't, we can talk about it in more detail in our next lesson in 2 weeks' time. Okay, let's come back to Tammy's question, which was way back here, if I'm not mistaken. Tammy, where is your question? Tammy, I'm looking for it. There it is. Here we go. So Tammy has asked, was just wondering what food can make your voice sound good, and a daily exercise I can do every day that won't bother the people I live with. Okay, so 2 questions there. So first question, what food can you eat? Tammy, I am a great believer in the rule of moderation. And far be it from me to, because for example, I don't even know where you live. I don't know what foods you have access to, but everything within moderation. And so I would be encouraging you firstly towards a healthy diet, low fats, low sugars, unhealthy fats, low processed sugars, directing you to, fresh fruit and vegetables, in season fruit and vegetables. For a lot of people, lowering their dairy can be a positive thing. I am a person who eats red meat, so, but that is in moderation. So it's all about you recognizing within your own cultural diet what is healthy and sustainable, and going with that. I cannot emphasize enough how important hydration is. And so, as I said, systemic hydration of your body with good water intake, that needs to be around about 2 to 3 liters of water a day. Reducing diuretic things like alcohol, and look, reducing alcohol intake in general is not a bad thing for your health anyway. And so eating foods that are really healthy, and that's what I would be encouraging you to do, and paying attention to what your body tells you. So, for example, this is going to fly in the face of my encouragement towards moderation. But last night I was at my brother-in-law's place, and we were having dinner, and they had decided we were going to have pizza, and so we went and bought some takeaway pizzas, good good takeaway pizzas, it has to be said, but takeaway nonetheless. And with said pizza, I had one beer, and so that's quite carbonated and kind of acidic. That was the pizza, and then we followed that up with a standard red wine, which all went very, very nicely together. But I did come home and need to, because I suffer from some reflux, I did come home and need to take some Gaviscon, some liquid anti-reflux, because it really did play on my tummy acids. And so, I certainly, I think sometimes when people hear me talking about things like moderation and the disciplines that are required for us as singers, that it's, it's all work and no play. No, there are certainly times to live, and last night was one of those. But we have to then be, mindful about how we then respond, and deal with that, dare I say, slight blowout in moderation. And so anyway, that's what I encourage you towards, just that really moderate diet. The other question that you've asked here is, what is a good and daily exercise I can do every day? Well, here at Voice Essentials, we do encourage to not be using your voice under load. So really, really exercising the voice hard 7 days a week. The voice needs rest. And it's really appropriate for you to go looking. And when we're first starting out, I'm always encouraging students to just start every second day for about 20 minutes. As to an exercise that will be relatively okay for you to do around your family members or housemates or neighbors, semi-occluded vocal tract activities are probably going to be your go-to, because they balance the voice. They're generally not loud because there is a sense of voice. But even a light hum in the shower, for example, so just doing a ba ba so just a light hum. Now, hopefully you're hearing that through the recording, but for the most part, I think if you're doing the hum in that manner as a semi-occluded vocal tract activity that has balance, that is not overdriven, there's not a lot of volume behind that you're really going to hear outside of the bathroom, that you're perhaps doing that when you're doing that in the shower. So that's possibly a good activity. And it can be a really good one to wake the voice up if you're in the habit of having a shower in the morning. It can be a really positive one to just get, some warm moisture into the vocal tract. You're in a resonant space, and it can be quite positive. So, Tammy, try those things, and hopefully that will be a good thing for you to have a look at. I'm going to come down here to vocal. So Kiara is asking, what is the best way to strengthen your vocal cords? And it's interesting. It's not uncommon actually for people to think the word vocal cords is like chords on a piano or a guitar. So C-H-O-R-D. In fact, we spell vocal cords C-O-R-D. We drop the H. Interestingly, a lot of the modern textbooks, research, we now refer to vocal cords, no H, as vocal folds, because that's kind of what they are. They're a fold of membrane. And so we often refer to them as, you will, occasionally I still see, a respected colleague referring to them as vocal cords. But anyway, that's by the by. What is the best way to strengthen them? Well, firstly, we exercise them. It's really important to be using the vocal for. I went to say vocal cords, but getting mixed up between the two. Vocal cords. It's really important to be exercising the vocal folds, maneuvering them, taking the vocal folds across your complete full range. I started a new student only last week and had an interesting conversation with them. They had received previous advice from a teacher who had encouraged them to pick a register and stick to it. Like, pick a register that you're comfortable in and just stick to it. And I had to humbly disagree with that instruction, and I acknowledge that there may have been some misinterpretation in the receiving of that information by the student. But what I went on to say to this person was, actually, we get a lot more benefit from working across our complete range. That is a part of realizing the full potential of your vocal folds, your voice. And it really does cause the vocal folds to work and to go through the transitional spaces, what the classical people call passaggio, and it enables us to really exercise the voice completely. And in doing so, when the voice is being taken through its full range of motion, then it is strengthening because we are exercising the mechanics of the voice, the muscles that are working with each other and against each other, and developing our whole voice. The Voice Essentials courses are designed to do this very thing. Now, we don't start by immediately exploring range. That would not be sensible. We start by getting our alignment right and thinking about twang and thinking about breath flows, but we start to, by basically module 5 in the Voice Essentials 1 singing course, we start to really explore range and take the voice out over a complete range. That is what strengthening your voice is all about. And then, of course, we're also taking the voice into, repertoire and exploring songs, and it can be, I think, beneficial to, in a sense, this is sort of a CrossFit idea, is to explore genres outside of what your chosen genre might be. And so if you're a jazz singer, for example, it could be really fun and really beneficial to explore some rock. If you're a country singer, maybe there's some value in you exploring some music theatre. I'm just pulling genres out of my head there. But the point being is, different genres require different things from your voice and require you to manage the mechanics slightly differently. And so, exploring those different genres, I think, Kiara, will be helpful as you play with your vocal cords / vocal folds. I'm going to come down to James. Let's see if we can find James' question here. James is asking, "Hi, Dr. Dan. My very best karaoke performances are renditions of Johnny Cash. Walk the Line." I do a terrible Johnny Cash. In fact, can I tell you, I have got I've been starting to share some studio performance recordings into the Voice Essentials Facebook community group. And if you're not a part of it, please come and join us. It's a wonderfully supportive, active Facebook group. And I've been participating myself in sharing some performances, some recordings that I do here in the studio. And one of them that I'm about to share in the next couple of weeks is low. Like, I'm really very intentionally exploring my lower register. And as you can imagine, as a tenor, low singing is quite challenging for me. And so I'll be interested to get your feedback when you hear it, when I share it into the community page. But back to the question. Renditions of Johnny Cash. I have a very low sound but struggle going high. So you got the exact opposite issue to me, James. What other artists would you recommend for karaoke? Well, instead of thinking of it as, the polar, that you've got to work at the polar opposites to each other, either low or high, think about what can you do in the middle. So is it George Ezra? He sits quite low. But maybe particularly if you're into Johnny Cash, maybe some Elvis, some of Elvis's lower material might be helpful. There's a whole range of stuff. Maybe some Neil Diamond. I'm throwing names out that you might be familiar with, given that you're into Johnny Cash. It's a matter of exploring perhaps some baritone-based sounds that you could find helpful having a sing of. Frank Sinatra would be another name that might come to. Now, I know that sometimes, the singers that I've already mentioned, Elvis, Frank Sinatra, they do have some stuff that goes high, but they've got stuff that goes low. So, but again, maybe it's about exploring stuff in the middle of your range. The other thing you might like to consider doing is simply changing the key of the Johnny Cash material. So, case in point, on Sunday, the song that I've recorded that I'm going to be sharing into the Voice Essentials Facebook community group, I led at my local church on Sunday, but it was too low. Once my voice is fully warmed up, our voices, when they're warm, they will tonally and physically tone up so that certainly in my case, I can't get as low as I can when I'm not fully warmed up, if that makes sense. And so I knew I was having to do this particular song right at the end of the service. So I knew my voice, having already done the warm-up before the service and then the pre-service, then the service, I was going to get to the end and I was going to really struggle to get as low as this song needed me to do. So what did I do? Very simple. I just put a capo on the guitar, I brought it, all I had to do was bring it up a semitone. So I didn't overly change the tonal color of the whole piece, but I certainly lifted it up so that the very bottom note was achievable for me, but it wasn't suddenly so high that no one else could sing it. And so changing the key can really help you to explore other aspects of your voice and other ways of expressing the same song. You can discover some interesting tonal, attributes when you change the key. So you might like to try those ideas, James, and don't freak out about, I'm not saying that you would, James, but some people freak out at the notion of changing a key, and that I think is generally serviced by the classical sort of notion that we never change keys, and that is true. In classical music, we don't change the key. Whatever the composer has written in, that's what you do it in. And the same goes for music theatre, typically. But in contemporary, it's a free-for-all. You can do the song in whatever key you like, and that's what I'd be encouraging you to do. James. Okay, coming down here to So I'm looking for Anita's question. I'm going to go looking for... Hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying today's hangout. Oh, so this is going to be... There's going to be a double section to Anita's question, and I'm going to do my best. So, oh, Anita, you've put the question across. I don't know, 3. Anyway, so Anita is asking, how am I going to do this? I want to answer your question, Anita, but I don't think I'm going to be able to put it up on screen. She's asked, firstly, so what can I do to rehabilitate a damaged voice? Like my speaking voice is damaged, so in return it affects my singing voice. Do you have any special tips to help with speaking level exercises that can translate into helping your singing voice? The thing that people don't understand, I think, often is just how much more we use our spoken activity than we do our singing activity. Even if you are a working singer who regularly gigs, you will still use your spoken values up to 90% of the time. So that's a lot more spoken use for the voice than singing. What we also understand is that speaking is to walking as singing is to running. The activity of singing is a higher level activity than speaking. But if we then, sort of further the metaphor of the walking and running, I don't know if you've ever seen a runner who has been practicing their running on, on an athletics path. What do they call those? Track. And when they do, you'll often see them actually going through their motions really slowly. Now they're going through the action of their running slowly, but our speaking needs to be really well balanced and really in place before we then go looking to do our singing. If we walk in a weird way and our hips twist and do all sorts of weird things when we walk, that is only going to be exaggerated when we run. And it's the same with our speaking to singing. If our speaking is lacking a balance, if our speaking is lacking a core tone and efficient use, it is highly likely that will be so much more the case in our singing. And so it really is important that we get the speaking right first before we move on into our singing. And that is simply requires us to go to a speech pathologist, someone who is trained in the teaching of spoken mechanics, just like I am trained in the teaching of the singing mechanics, and working with them, and then allowing them to then hand you over to a singing voice specialist and moving into that. And so the tips that I have with speaking level exercises is to and you can do these with your speech pathologist, but often it depends on where the imbalance in your speaking is. But there are a number of methodologies. So resonant voice activities is one group of exercises. Vocal function exercises is another. More often than not, the one of the really handy handover points, the points at where a speech pathologist will get a singer who is under their spoken value care. They'll get them to semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, SOVTs, and they then hand this is certainly what I do with the speech pathologists that I work in team with. They then hand the singer back over to me, and I then continue the SOVT work, and in doing so, we take the voice forward into the singing. And so we get the walking right, and then we get the voice going from the walking into the jogging, into the running. Case in point, we go from the speaking into the energized, spoken, sort of marking sort of space into full-blown singing. Actually, let me correct myself there. Marking is a different thing, so we wouldn't refer to it as marking, but there you go. Okay, where are we going here next? So, Anita, I hope that helps you with your question. I'm coming down here to see to Sean the Lazy, which is Sean the Lazy 01. Hello, may I ask for tips to replicate the sound of a note? I can't seem to do it. Sean, when we create a single note, what we're doing is we're hearing a sound, and our brain is translating that and then getting the larynx to then hit or oscillate at the exact frequency required to replicate that note. So if I hear the note da, and I want to ya, then I've heard a note, my brain is thinking a note, and then I'm singing a note. This is all happening very, very quickly. This is actually one of the key challenges of singing. No other instrument has to hear the note to play the note. A keyboard, the keyboard doesn't have to hear the F before it plays the F. It just needs us to hit F. The guitar, it doesn't need to hear a B before it can play the B. Whereas we as singers, we have to hear the note, translate that through our brain, and then represent that with the vocal folds. This is not easy to do for a lot of people. And so it is a matter of, with a singing teacher, and Sean, I dare say you would gain a lot of benefit from literally drilling notes. And there is no shame in this. It's literally spending time with someone who can play the notes on a keyboard typically, and then have you try to sing the note, and then have them encourage you, either if you've sung sharp, that is if you've sung higher than the target note, then you've got to actually learn to come down, or if you've sung flat, that is lower than the target note, then encourage you to be able to come up. And so this is all part of the process about, you working through, that target issue. Replicating the note is not easy, and you shouldn't feel like it has to be easy. For a lot of people, it's not easy, and that's okay. And you might find the 7 Days to a Better Voice program really helpful, because through the 7 Days Better program, I've actually, and in fact, through all of Voice Essentials 1 as well now, we've got piano-only backing tracks that really will help you to isolate and hear the notes isolated, and you may really find that quite helpful, Sean. This is an interesting question, and in fact, it will be our last question for today. Rupam is asking, how do I write songs? Rupam, you sit down, and certainly there's a number of ways of going about this, and I am by no means the best person to answer the question. I can only really give you some insight into what I do. There is a group And we've actually had the leader of the group, Francesca De Valiance, she's come onto the show. She leads a group called I Heart Songwriting. And I'd encourage you to check it out. So it's I Heart Songwriting. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And they go right into it. Like, that is their bag, songwriting. And she's got songwriting challenges and really encouraging people to start songwriting. So if you are an instrumentalist, particularly a piano or a guitar, and these are the two instruments that we find most people writing their songs on, then you typically would start out generally by finding yourself some chordal progression, maybe then finding yourself some melody through that. That's one way, is to approach it music first. The other way is to approach it as poetry first, developing some lyric that has some meter, that is some sort of timing and tempo to it, and then structuring a melody around that, maybe just humming the melody. And then if you, for example, are not an instrumentalist, you could then take said melody to an instrumentalist and ask them to help you to structure some chords and create that into a song. Again, I hope that's helpful. That's very, very rudimentary, and I highly recommend I Heart Songwriting to you as a group for you to go and check out. Yeah, they, like I said, they go right into that kind of thing. Well, everyone, that has been another very cool hangout for, oh, where am I going? Yeah, there I'm, that's where I'm going. Another really great hangout. We get to do this again next week, so don't forget to subscribe, hit the white bell icon. I want to say a big shout out to those of you who do watch the show as a replay. And if you've watched the show this week right up until this point, thank you for watching it all the way through. I'm so pleased that the show is bringing something to you and helping to guide and enrich your singing life. And that's what we seek to do here at Voice Essentials. And it, you know, we do sing. I do sing on the channel, but with the Q&A, it's more driven by the, if you know more, you can sing more. And that's what we try to do with the Q&A. So make sure, if you think of a question during the week, write it down somewhere, yeah? So that when you come into the show next week, you'll be ready to go, and we'll have a lot of fun together answering those questions. But for now, I want to wish you all a great week. I hope you are all doing well, and we'll catch up again, same time, same bat channel. Oh dear, I'm showing my age. I very much look forward to seeing you all again next week. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.